Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to MKXL. This and the next few videos I'm going to be uploading in the coming days will be covering the new patch that just hit the game very recently. As of the time that I'm recording this patch has been out for like half an hour. The game has changed a lot. Armored launchers are essentially out, or you have to spend 2 meters for them. A lot of characters received buffs, a lot of characters received nerfs. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is going over the characters that I play and covering the changes pretty in depth and kind of giving you an opinion on where these characters stand. Obviously, I'm not the biggest expert. I play this game, I think I'm okay at it. It's just to get you an idea, to give you an idea of what the changes are to all the characters. Not all of them, but obviously the ones I play. We are going to be starting out with my main, Lord Shinnok. He has received a ton of changes. Honestly, some of them I think are completely warranted. Some of them I get why they made these changes, but they honestly restructure how Shinnok works, especially Imposter. I'm gonna leave Imposter last because he's the one that I think changed the most. But we're gonna go over the general changes. First, I'm gonna be using Necromancer. I like going against Jason because he doesn't make any noise when you hit him. He's just a nice, quiet training dummy. General changes. I have the patch notes pulled up. Forward kick, towards forward kick, this move now has 13 startup frames, which is significantly faster, and is now -1 on block. So it is extremely safe. The thing is, this change is great. Shinnok always had a problem, I think, with having a good advancing move. Like, this is good, but the startup on it is still kind of booty. This doesn't have a lot of range, so sometimes I did have trouble punishing moves that, kind of leave the opponent, that are unsafe but leave the opponent kind of at a distance from you. Like Kitana's butt slam or Assassin's charge in, because this didn't have enough range and this had too slow of a startup. So this move honestly is great. The more of Shinnok's normals I get to use, the better, and this move finally has another use outside of comboing it in Imposter. It is really good how it kind of moves him forward. Again, great change. I do have to kind of cover, even though I'm not going to go into the general gameplay changes, one thing I do have to cover is the run system, which has been, I guess, nerfed, if you want to say. It's been changed, mainly by how much stamina you lose when you start your run. Do you see I lose about a quarter of my entire stamina bar when I start running? So I'm mentioning that change because that leaves zoners like Necromancer in a lot better of a position, because opponents won't be able to always just straight up run in at you from full screen. So honestly, I think zoners in general and defensive characters have been buffed overall. Now, let's go into the other general Shinnok changes. We'll get into Necromancer a bit more. Hellsparks and Hellblast Enhanced is now +5 on block, down from +14. This is the big thing, the major thing. Shinnok always had good pressure coming from the enhanced Hellspark, and I'm going to set my opponent to block. So something like this, I just screwed that up, something like this into an overhead with God, why am I so bad today? So Shinnok could always maintain pressure like this. If he wanted to, you could enhance and go into either a low, this low, or this overhead. Again, sorry about the sloppy play. I literally just jumped into this patch right now. I haven't played at all today. So again, you could do something like this and still go into this and sort of this. This wasn't always guaranteed. Now that is completely gone. Hellsparks Enhanced only leaves you at +5, which still allows you to maintain pressure, but it won't allow you to go into an overhead or a low. So basically, a lot of Shinnok's guessing game is out because he won't be able to essentially just spend meter and get another free guess. Again, you'll still be able to pressure very well with this tool. And also, if you see something like this, your opponent blocks your low, you can just enhance the health sparks and keep yourself safe. So all of that is still there. The amazing keep out of health sparks is still there. It's just being kind of restructured because now this move is going to be a lot more useful. The Amulet Strike has been changed, but what hasn't been changed is the enhanced version, which is still plus 14. So this will allow you to go into a 50-50 with Shinnok. So essentially, the only thing you're losing is that Hellsparks builds a shit ton of meter. This doesn't, and it also doesn't chip as much. So you lose that, but you still have a way to keep your opponent guessing. That is probably the most significant change to Shinnok. The Hellsparks are gonna be will be used very differently from now on. Other thing is this is a lot faster. This move could always eat projectiles, which I'm gonna demonstrate. Okay, that's probably a bit too fast. Yeah, whatever. We'll stay full screen. See, it eats projectiles. Honestly, some of these projectile eating moves I doubt are useful, but you know, it has faster startup. If you wanna invalidate your opponent's projectiles, you can use this. I really don't see too much of a use for this because Shinnok, I mean, Necromancer has the Devil Flick to counter, Imposter has the teleport, and Bone Shaper has the projectile. Bone Shaper doesn't have this either way, but yeah, it's there. You can use it if you want. Again, that move always had this property. It's just been increased now that this has faster startup. Now, let's look at the next thing, this move. This move now has 2 hits of armor, which is a pretty common change across the board, that most characters now have an armored move that has 2 hits of armor but doesn't launch. So you can still use this move very well to get out of tough situations. You just have to consider it a little bit more because this is a really unsafe move. It always has been, but now, you know, you have 2 hits of armor. The other thing is that this move can now be enhanced for a pop-up. Honestly, I don't see how this will be useful. The normal version at least. This is not going to become Shinnok's new combo starter because Hellsparks are still there. It's a lot safer of an option. What I think will be useful is this, that you can enhance the meter burn version. Honestly, I think this will be really good if you need to finish your opponent. The thing about Shinnok is that he is really, really meter dependent. So it is unlikely you'll ever want to spend 2 bars for this. But I can see it being useful, like I said, you know, if you're basically at the end of a match, you have 2 bars, you want to kill your opponent, and you want to wake up, go for it. It kind of has a weird... I'm gonna have to get used to this move because both the enhanced timing and the pop-up is kind of weird. I'll work out some combos a bit later. Again, I literally just jumped into this. Necromancer... Oh, we still have one more. Do we? No, actually, I did cover all of the general changes. Necromancer. I think, like I said earlier, the zoners will be a lot better off with this patch. I'll get into why I still don't think Necromancer is going to be very used. But the main thing he got is that this move and this move now have... Well, I think it's just this. It's only Devil Flick. But I assume the enhanced version as well has increased pushback. So if your opponent is blocking and you're kind of at this distance, this will leave you a little bit safer because the move Devil's Flick is unsafe, but you know, it pushes your opponent back a bit more, so that is going to be very good. I assume pushback means on block, or it might be on hit. Anyways, it's good because then it will send your opponent full screen. Next thing he got is a change to this move. The unblockable overhead can now be cancelled out of, both forward and backward. Again, kind of has a timing that I need to get used to. Let's see, I'm trying to do the forward. Yeah, it's a lot earlier than you think. This is basically used to play mind games. This move has a huge startup, but if you think your opponent is gonna read it, or your opponent sees you doing it, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna run in and punish you. You can dash out, Hell Sparks, hit them, and send them full screen again. That is all the changes to Necromancer. I'm gonna go and cover Bone Shaper next, and hopefully give you a few reasons as to why I think Necromancer is still severely overshadowed by Bone Shaper. Basically, the problem has always been Necromancer is the zoning variation. However, Bone Shaper still has great zoning. Probably not as good as Necro, but not much worse either. But Bone Shaper also has great offense. And that basically hasn't changed. Bone Shaper received no nerfs aside from the fact that this now doesn't have armor, which is kind of a general change to all characters. In fact, he even got some buffs. Dark Beam, this move is now -9 on block. So once again, if you're like at this range from your opponent, they block it, they're not going to be able to punish. And Dark Blast is now 0 on block. So this is a great move. You know, you do something unsafe, your opponent blocks. You could still go into Hell Sparks, but you can go into this as well to give you basically equal footing with your opponent. That's what 0 on block essentially is. Honestly, this is good mainly because it's a mid. I don't think the 0 is going to affect it too much. If you want to pressure, you're still going to be using Hell Sparks. But because Bone Shaper did not receive any changes to his zoning, I think there's still no use to use Necromancer. I mean, this guy has a good projectile, still has Hell Sparks, has almost a full screen low, which you shouldn't use, but you can if you want to trip up your opponent, and a great unblockable. Now, Necro has pretty much all these tools as well, but Bone Shaper has all this great offense, and honestly, I will say it right now, Bone Shaper is without a doubt Shinnok's best variation now. He is pretty much unchanged, which makes him a really solid character. I think Bone Shaper is a real threat now, even with the general changes that have been made. You know, when you look at all the nerfs that the rest of the cast has, I think once again that Bone Shaper is a huge threat now. So again, I still don't think there is any reason to use Necromancer unless people discover something amazing. I still think I'm going to be sticking mostly to Bone Shaper. Now, we will look at, finally, our friend, my favorite Shinnok variation, the one I use the most, Imposter. Honestly, Imposter has been hit really hard. Some people are freaking out about this, but honestly, I think he'll just be basically less useful in certain matchups. Most of the times, Imposter you picked for the Vortex. And I'm actually going to go ahead and switch to Scorpion because I want to demonstrate this. I can talk about the changes while we switch over, but Shinnok Imposter got 2 changes. First thing is that it's more of like a bug fix, but adjusted the timing of being hit by Mimicry while airborne to be more consistent with the grounded reaction. I think this is more of like, again, just like an animation fix or something. It doesn't have like, I don't know what exactly this pertains to, but I don't think it affects anything Imposter does. The big change, aside from the fact that Shinnok received general changes, is that Mimicry is now plus 17 on hit instead of plus 104. So there's like 90 frames lost. Basically, what this means is that you hit your opponent with this, neither this, well, actually, no, this is guaranteed, but this is no longer guaranteed. So basically, the mix-up option of Imposter is gone. You can go into that, and your opponent can block, but this will not fly. Basically, your opponent will be able to react to this. They'll be able to armor. They're gonna have options for dealing with the overhead. So again, hitting you with this and basically forcing you to guess is no longer a thing. Shinnok will only be guaranteed this low and nothing else. And combined with the fact that his, what you call it, is nerfed as well, Hellspark, that's a really significant change. The only thing I can think of to do, if I set the AI to auto block, I literally just came up with this right now. So if I hit my opponent with this basic imposter combo, what you can do, actually, I need to get used to that timing. Actually, I'm just gonna do this for now. So your opponent is gonna be blocking. You can go into this and then guarantee the 50-50. So basically, what this means, let me try that again to see if that actually works. So if we hit your opponent with this, do something like this, and then go into a 50-50. So Shinnok technically, I think, still has the Vortex Imposter. However, he is even more meter dependent. I mean, Shinnok has always been super meter dependent. But now I think with this patch, he's gonna be even more so. That is a huge nerf because the problem with Shinnok always has been that he can almost never break. God, that is a weird timing. But yeah, you can, I think, do that. Still guarantee a 50-50. You just have to spend this. And then you can go into the Mimic Read move and do your shenanigans. I think you can still grab. But yeah, the straight up Vortex is pretty much gone unless you're willing to spend a shit ton of meter. So, where do all these changes leave Shinnok? I mean, generally, I think what they're trying to do is remove all sorts of vortexes from the game. I think that is kind of a general change, although Leatherface and Smoke and some of the other characters still have their vortex. Okay, let's try that again, because I just coughed a lot. I don't think Shinnok was ever the worst vortex character in the game. He certainly was extremely strong, but I think where this change leaves him is he's gonna be even more meter dependent, and Imposter is gonna be a lot less widely used. You could basically pick Imposter for any matchup, except for some of the really bad ones like Predator and Jason, and that's the only two I can think of right now. I think right now, from now on, Bone Shaper is going to be seeing a lot more use. It is definitely the strongest Shinnok variation and a real threat. But again, these are just my initial impressions. We'll see how people continue playing Shinnok. I think I kind of gave you a basic idea of what I'm going to be doing. This is going to be seeing a lot more use from me. Bone Shaper is going to be seeing a lot more use, although I've always liked Bone Shaper, so honestly I'm not too upset about the changes, but what I just did there is definitely not going to fly. Me being like here, doing the mimicry, and running in and doing a 50-50, that's not going to be happening from now on. I think in the corner, Imposter is still going to be strong against characters like Scorpion. But yeah, again, I'm not an expert. Just gave you my basic views on Shinnok. He's still a really strong character. I still think Necromancer is not going to be too good. Imposter has been nerfed heavily, I'll admit that much. But Bone Shaper has a ton of potential. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. It's probably been really long. Shinnok is my main, so he's going to be... This is going to be probably the longest video I do. I'll cover some of the other characters I play, like Bo Raicho. Not sure if it's worth going over Smoke, because he didn't really get much. Ferrator either. Maybe I'll combine those two into one video. But for now, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode of MKXL. And I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.